Thank you, Graeme. I'd like to welcome everyone to the first District 73 Education and Training session for the 23-24 year. It is delightful to see so many people here in this session, and it's going to be a very relevant and informative session about contests with the opportunity for interactions and question and answers. So very timely, I think, as we're approaching club contest season, to have this opportunity to talk about contests, how to run them, how to judge, things that we all need to remember. And I'd like to especially thank all our wonderful presenters, our timer and our Zoom master for offering their time tonight, and Kevin, our district director, for being available to us for that lovely 1 hour drop-in session where you had an opportunity to ask Kevin anything. If possible, if you could rename with your club as well as your name, that would be wonderful, and it will help us to recognise who's here and which club you're from. I'm going to welcome for now our first presenter of the evening. We are very fortunate to have some wonderfully experienced Toastmasters leading sessions tonight, and our first presenter will be Tracy Green from Gourmet. Many of you will know Tracy already. She is a past district director. She's done everything in Toastmasters, I believe, and it was a great thrill to see Tracy at this year's district contests, where she competed in 3 events and was the winner of the District 73 Table Topics contest. So Tracy has a lot of relevant contest experience, and tonight she's going to lead a session for us, especially helpful for perhaps newer members, an introduction to Toastmasters contests. So over to you, Tracy. Let's hear your words of wisdom regarding contests.
Thank you, Janine. That was lovely. Now I'm going to be working with the Zoom master, who is going to help with the presentation, so that I can keep focused on if there's any questions, etc. Because I find when I'm doing both, I can't multitask and I get distracted. I want to start with a question first to the audience, because I've done some researching regarding the Toastmasters contest. Can anyone tell me when they started? Because I could not find an exact date. I know when Toastmasters started, but not when the contest started. Ah, good. Okay, I wasn't the only one. Excellent. Let's kick off an introduction to speech contests. If we could please move slides, Mr. Zoom Master. So you've got here an extract from Toastmasters International. The important thing to know is that this is part of the Toastmasters program. It is expected that, it's not mandatory, but it is expected that clubs will participate. District run contests, which is area, division and district, must be held. And you can see here that, in fact, for Toastmasters International, there are 5 contests: humorous, evaluation, table topics, and tall tales. Humorous?
International.
And international. I should read it. And you can see tall tales is not one of the contests that District 73 holds. District 73 does hold the humorous, the evaluation, table topics, and international speech contests. And I believe it's a district decision, because some other districts do run tall tale contests. And you can see here the purpose of the speech contest. Now, this you'll probably see many times because it's referenced on a lot of the contest supporting documents and in the rule book as a reason as to why we hold contests. And for me personally, watching contests is an area where you get an opportunity to learn from others, because you get to see at each different level. So I think you might have heard someone say about, I think it was you, Kevin, about your club and you hold it as an educational. I think that's a fantastic idea, because for newbies, how do we really feel confident and comfortable in a contest? Do what Kevin suggests. Have your club hold it as an educational. There is a safe place then for learning. And then hopefully that inspires you to go outside your club to the other levels, which is where you'll get to see different levels of the speech contests from the winners of the previous as they move up. Now, I've broken this presentation out into each of the speech contests with the levels you move through and the purpose of each contest. So if we could please move to the first one, which is evaluation. So you can see from this slide that an evaluation contest can be held at a club level, and the winner from the club moves to an area, which is a district managed contest. If you win the area contest, you could then move to the division. If you win the division, you then move to the district. And that's as far as that contest goes in that contest year. A contest year starts from July and it goes through to June. That is a Toastmasters year, and that's our contest year. For us, our contests for districts are held in May. Some flow over to June, but the majority will be held by the end of May. And then the next, if you are lucky to go to the next level, would be in August at the conference. So you can see here the definition for an evaluation contest is about an opportunity for you to provide honest, positive, and constructive feedback to a model speaker. And this is where the competence of the speaker or his or her strengths are provided in a positive and also giving an advice for improvement. It's very important to note that for the evaluation contests, the contestants observe, each contestant all observe the same 5 to 7 minute test speech. You may have heard someone in the audience talking about the criteria for a test speaker, and I think Kevin clarified, the test speaker for your contest must be a Toastmaster. So once they've all heard that 5 to 7 minute speech and they're busily making notes as they listen to that speech, they'll then, based on speaking order draw, come back and present a 2 to 3 minute evaluation of that test speech. That evaluation is then assessed by the judges in the audience, and the judges will have a judge's ballot with the criteria that they assess the contestants against. So if you've never seen the judge's ballot, it's really important before you're into a contest to actually do that, because what you're doing is you're actually setting yourself up for success and understanding what the judges are looking for. So that's your evaluation contest. And as long as you are a paid up member in a club of good standing, you can enter your club's evaluation contest, which, if it hasn't already been held, more than likely will be held within August, September, or October. If we could please move to the next slide. The next contest that our district holds is the Table Topics Contest. And of course, you can see that the purpose for the table topics is to provide an opportunity to learn by observing the skills of others, along with you gaining skills and understanding how to use techniques to think on your feet. Because the table topics, just like they're in your club, is where you give an impromptu speech and all contestants are assigned the same topic. And you have 1 to 2 minutes with which to respond. So having an opportunity within your club to do your table topics is a great learning platform. So if you haven't done them yet, please put your hand up to be nominated. And you can see that the flow from a table topics contest is exactly the same as the evaluation. You go club, win your club, you move to area. Win your area, you move to division. Win the division, you move to the district. That contest doesn't go on any further other than the district until the next Toastmasters year. Please let me know if anybody has any questions. I'm just conscious that we've got time constraints on our presentations, and I want to try and keep to it. Being a Toastmaster and a DTM, it's not do not time me. It means that we like to talk. Most Toastmasters do. We'll move to the next.
Found the first contest, Tracy. It was 1938.
Oh, there we go.
Won by Henry Weems, and it wasn't until 1960 that the first non-American, a Canadian, won the contest. But 1938, that was the first
1938. I'm going to make a note of that.
Speaking contest.
Wow. And that's interesting because that's not long after they really started. I thought it would have been much later.
Yep.
Also, with the competitions, you cannot be an area governor or above.
Absolutely. So one of the key criteria, I'll get to the tips later, but it's really, you must adhere to the contest rulebook, and it covers all of those elements of who's eligible and who's not eligible. So yes, as a person in the audience has mentioned, if you're currently an active serving district officer, you're ineligible from competing. If we move to the next criteria, competition type, which is humorous. So the humorous contest is, this is kind of an interesting one. I personally find the humorous really challenging, but it's your opportunity to become more proficient in reading the audience, because your speech still needs to be constructive and opening a body and a close, and it cannot be a series of one-liners, but it also needs to ensure that there is a level of humor within the audience, humor that the audience is responding to. That can always be challenging. And so if you're a speaker, and I've done this in a club level, and you think that the speech is really funny, but nobody in the audience is laughing, it can be a little off-putting. So if that's you, I highly recommend stepping out of your comfort zone and trying the humorous speech. So the humorous speech is where you would give a 5 to 7 minute speech, and it's 75% original, and it's where you're hopefully still following a structure, but encouraging the audience to laugh. How you go about that is up to you, and the audience can be tough. I highly recommend giving it a go. You can see the flow is exactly the same for table topics and evaluation. Starts at the club and goes to the district, and that as far as that contest goes. There's a lot of similarity between the humorous judges ballot and the international judges ballot. The difference is the humorous has a section about the audience's reaction, which is what the judges will be looking for. And that is, of course, from a humorous perspective, you've engaged them and the response is laughter. You hear the laughter, you're on a winner. Obviously, you've engaged the audience. And those are some of the things that you'll look for. But use your club level as your playing ground for you to grow in those skills. All of them: evaluation, table topics, and humorous. And as long as you're not a district officer and you're a paid up Toastmaster and you're in a club of good standing, then you're eligible to enter all 3 of those contests if you choose to. Now we go to the contest that's different, which is the next contest, the international. You can see that its flow has other steps involved. The international, like the humorous, is a 5 to 7 minute speech. But you have the opportunity, if you win your club, to go to the area. You win your area, you go to division. Win the division, go to district. Win the district, go to regional. Win the regional, go to semi-finals. Win the semi-finals, go to the finals. The semi-finals and the finals, unless this has changed, are held at the Toastmasters International Convention, which is held in August. The regional is, I believe, a video contest where when you present your speech at the district level, it will be recorded and submitted to the region. And we are we still Region 12? Our district director, Graeme, Kevin? Well, it hasn't changed, has it?
No, still Region 12, and yes,
Region
it is
12.
a video contest. Yeah.
Awesome. And so Region 12, it means that those videos will be assessed and competed against all other districts within our region. The winner of that will move to the semi, and then, fingers crossed, become in the finals. And we've had quite a few district representatives in the finals, which is really exciting if you're there watching. And I highly recommend, if you don't get to go to an international convention, at least sign up to watch the recordings or the live events.
So does that mean that a video gets taken of your speech and only they then choose who they like out of those videos to then go on to the finals? Is that correct? Well,
there'll be criteria that the judges for the regional will assess based on those videos, yes. And the videos are what is going to be your opportunity for presenting your speech.
And those videos have very strict guidelines. So it's not a webcam type environment. It has to be a full stage capture of what it is that's being presented. Mm-hmm. No editing, no movement, no change from the introduction of the speaker through to the thanking of the speaker.
Okay. Thanks.
And to Kevin's point, there is very strict guidelines for the district to follow, because one of the district's responsibility with that particular contest for the recording is to make sure that they meet all that criteria, because otherwise you could be ineligible. So the international is called that because it's unlike any other contest. And according to the Toastmasters International site, it is the most highly sought after contest, because if you manage to get to the final and you're at the Toastmasters International Convention, you're competing for the title of World Champion of Public Speaking, which is quite an illustrious title to be able to have after your name. Not that I have that, and I think about it, but gee, maybe one day. Keep competing. Now, in the interest of time, when I think about our resources that we need to use for each of these contests, one of the key things to always remember is the Toastmasters rulebook, which gets refreshed every single year. So if you have not read that rulebook, I highly recommend it. So you can see it's available free to download from the Toastmasters International website. And there is the current one, which is our current year, which is the 2023-24 year. And that has any changes to the rules. And it also gives you the guidelines for you, whether you're a contestant or you're supporting a contest, for all of the roles. The other thing that I think about would be the source of truth. We've already had lots of Q&A at the beginning for Kevin, and typically in a official district roles, it's what was your previous role, Kevin?
PQD.
Sorry?
Program Quality Director.
Program Quality Director, yes. And the Program Quality Director is responsible for education and contests. So I would recommend your first point of call, if you had a question and you can't find the answer, reach out to whoever our current Program Quality Director is. And that is, who's our current Program Quality Director?
That is Mr. David Martin, who is here with us tonight.
Awesome, David Martin. So if you have any questions, you could reach out to David. You can also go to Toastmasters International, and ultimately your source of truth, if you can't find the answer with David or the contest rulebook, it's Toastmasters International. They're ultimately the source of truth when it comes to our contests. And the key is we need to adhere to that rulebook and follow those guidelines. And those guidelines help us as contestants. It helps us if we're in a supporting role. It helps us as a club or a district managing contests. So don't make up rules. Follow the rule book. It's the easiest thing you can do. And they even have scripts within it for you to follow if you want to host a contest. Do I have any questions from the audience regarding introduction to Toastmasters contests? No? All right. Now, I don't know whether you've got my latest version, Graeme, but these are the resources. Again, these are all free and downloadable from the Toastmasters International website. Number one, if you're in the evaluation contest, there is a contest evaluation form for you to use. It's an official form. And if you're in a club contest, more than likely you'll be issued this, as you will in any of the contests above club. And I can also see I've got variety of judges' ballots. So I've just captured two just to show that there's some differences. You've got a judge's ballot and a tiebreaker ballot. They have slightly different responsibilities. A judge's ballot is for a judge observing the contest, and they're a voting judge. Whereas the tiebreaker, they will place every single speaker in the speaking order of their preference based on their voting, and is only used to break a tie between the voting judges. But there are many other roles within a contest. If you don't want to be a contestant, but you really want to pitch in and help with your club, there are other roles like a timer, a counter, an usher. You can step up and be a contest chair, either MC or judge or a chief judge. And then ultimately, once your confidence increases and you feel more comfortable, maybe volunteer to help at another club.
Tracy.
This is the time everybody is looking for volunteers. Isn't there a, sorry, before I answer that question, isn't there a district website for looking for judges?
There's a Facebook.
Facebook, sorry.
Yeah.
Facebook. I wonder if it's possible, if anybody knows the link, we could put that into the chat. So
That
if there
will
is
actually-
anybody.
That will come up in my presentation. So
There we go. Awesome. So there's going to be a
Jules-
lot of more information covered. So I'm going to stop there unless there are any questions for me on contests.
Jules has a question. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd just like to mention, you said that the winner goes through to each level. Especially this year, we've had some interesting alignments happening in our district, and I might be stepping on Sue Pederick's presentation a little bit, but okay, and I get a nod from her. Maybe I'll leave that. I just wanted to mention that it depends on how many clubs.
Yes, I
and
wasn't
so
going to go
forth.
there, and not for what I'm talking about. That is going to be for somebody else. Yes.
Sure.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
definitely be covering that. Thank you for the question, though.
Thank you.
I just
Tracy?
have one question. When it comes to international contests, someone
Mhm.
was telling me the other day that when they go up to the top level that they do one speech, but then they had to change their speech to something else.
Ah, right. So that is if you get to the highest level, which is the final. The rules on when you present your final must be a brand new speech.
Really?
Yep, that's correct.
That's horrible.
Well, if you get that far, it's a good problem.
That's just
to have.
horrible.
You practice
Hey,
it before
but now you know.
get there.
So you secretly practice your second speech, but you can't present that speech until the final.
Okay, so realistically, if you're going to go into the finals international, you really need to have two really good speeches like
Correct. The one that you've been
Okay.
winning all along, and you're back up ready for the final.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. So it is.
Just to clarify, Tracy, because my understanding is the speech you win the district with, which is the thing, that one must be different to your final, because
That's right.
the district one
Yep,
is
correct.
not necessarily the one you've given all the way through. You could have been
True.
giving your other speech all the way through.
Absolutely.
So it's your district winning speech must be different to your international final speech.
Yeah, and the final speech cannot be one you've already given at any of those other levels. It has to be brand new.
Okay.
And it
I
has to be
didn't know that.
different.
How would they note that?
If someone's in the audience and they object, because I've heard it before.
I also have the
No,
feeling
they
that you
wouldn't. But
have
if someone
to-
Sorry,
protests,
judge.
yeah.
Sorry, a judge, I mean.
I also I can't clarify that it's right, but I believe it is right that they have to see your speech, TI, to know, because it's got to be different. If you got into the final, it's got to be different than the one you gave that you won at district level.
Here we go.
But the district one is recorded, so that they've got that evidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
yes.
my point is that all the other finals that you've been through, club, division, etc., they're not recorded.
No, that's right.
How do they know that it's a new speech, and what determines a new
Folks,
speech?
I think we're going to have to cut the thing there so that we can move on. We've got a couple other presentations to get through. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll review the rule book to see if it clarifies that for the international.
Okay, so we might have an answer in the chat. Graeme, if you could stop the screen share now. I would like to thank Tracy for running us through an introduction to Toastmasters contests. I appreciate the time you spent in preparing that very much, and it was a great overview. And now I would like to introduce Sue Pederick for our next part of the evening. Sue is going to talk about what goes forward and what will be returned. And Sue has an incredible pedigree as far as contests are concerned. It was my privilege to work with her this year as she was the district contest organizer, and she did a fabulous job. For those of you who don't know her, her past roles include past district director. She's also the current D73 communications manager, the D73 contest coordinator again for this year. She's the president of Leadership SA and Adelaide Toastmasters clubs. She's the vice president of membership for Mount Barker, treasurer of North Adelaide, and a club coach of Adelaide Hills Club. I don't know how she does it. Please welcome Sue Pederick.
Thank you. Well, I better unmute, otherwise you won't hear anything tonight. So what goes forward and what will be returned? Now, this leads into the district contest because it's vital that it starts at club level and feeds forward to the rest of us at different levels. So this is very important of what goes forward and what will be returned. And the biggest one is you. Now, if you don't do what you need to do, then you will be returned back to not only potentially division level when you hit the district, but you could be thrown back even further. So make sure your paperwork is all correct all the way through. Make sure you're aware of your requirements as a competitor, as a judge, as a member of the Toastmasters organisation, and as a district officer. So there's a lot to be accounted for, and that comes across particularly in the district, not the district, in the rule book from Toastmasters International. So please have a good read through that. So what has to go forward is a notification of contest winners, and that will be returned if it's not filled out properly. What goes forward is that checking if the eligibility is there, and that will be checked at all levels. Don't assume that just because they've gone through the club contest that someone is eligible at area to do the same contest. This really applies to the international contests. So don't assume that it's all good and the eligibility has been checked, because if you're not eligible, you will be returned and the next person in line will replace you. You need to be paid. You need to be eligible as a club in good standing, and you need to have completed sufficient education to be a judge and a competitor at the international contest. So how do you know if a club is in good standing or not? There's this particular little guide, which is called a club status guide. And this is really valuable because it shows you whether you are active or prospect club, or low or ineligible or suspended. So only the active members can compete in speech contests. So keep that in mind where you find this information. So clubs in good standing, the club status guide is in the link provided, which is this demographic here. The clubs in good standing, they're also shown on the dashboard, and that's in the other reports. So there's a special section in Toastmasters International on the dashboard. Just on the left, it shows other reports, and you can download all of the information of clubs that have put their paperwork and they are in good standing. You can also check in the renewal guide whether they've renewed their status and where you are up to, making sure that you've renewed the membership for the clubs. All right. So there's also an eligibility checker. Now this is found on Toastmasters International, and that you have to log in. So you have to log in as a member to be able to get access to this eligibility checker. And the login is just down the bottom, and it brings up your member ID, and you can check yourself, and you can certainly find out if any member is eligible. But you need to know that the member ID and the last name to do that. So if you're doing this at club level, that's easy, because club level, you have access to that through your club executive committee, and they can give you those details if you are outside of the committee moving forward, and they can do that check for you. There's also the speaker's eligibility. So you really need to send this out in time for the speakers to have a good read, because there are certain things that if the paperwork's just thrown in front of someone, they just sign it straight away and they think everything's fine, but it might not be fine. So giving them the opportunity to read this from the contest chair, sending it out in advance, is really valuable to all people who are competing. So give them the opportunity that they can read this in advance. There are so many rules and so many different instructions that come out for all sorts of things to do with contests. And you might have one simple question. So if you go to the frequently asked questions under speech contests, you find all these sort of these little tidbits of information that are really valuable to you if you're not searching through that rule book like you should be. So these give you a quick hint, a quick guide, and will answer your question almost straight away. So there are a few no's, and it says a no straight up front so that you can see exactly where you stand with Toastmasters International. The eligibility in the rule book is massive. So if you just hit Control Find with the word that you're after, like if you're talking about club contest, go to Control Find and go Club Contest. Control Find, go to Area, and start searching through the rule book that way. It is a much easier way than sifting through a lot of the information. So make sure you do look at the rule book, because that's where you will find an incredible resource for you. And make sure you pick the right rule book, because there are 2 rule books currently up on Toastmasters International. Because the contest cycle finishes in August for this current year, the year that's just gone by, there are 2 rule books on the website. So make sure for any club contests, you are choosing the contest rule book that goes forward for this coming year. So it has to say 2024 in it. Otherwise, you won't be going by the rules that apply to you this year. So the eligibility of a contestant means you must maintain eligibility at all levels of any contest. So you can be disqualified even if it's discovered later at a later level and has been corrected. So sometimes with contests, there is this bit of a juggle with clubs. You have a club that's struggling and it might close. If you don't follow that contest order all the way through of being with that one club all the way through to district and beyond, then you are not eligible, because that club is your base and that's the host that goes forward. The same with if you're unpaid. If you become an unpaid member and you are checked to see if you are eligible, you haven't paid your dues, then you are no longer eligible to compete forward. And same with the level 2 of pathways qualification for your competing in the international. If you have not done level 2, you cannot compete in the international contest. Now, sometimes that's not seen on the on Club Central, and that needs to be checked and double checked, and we will do everything in our power to get that through for you. So making sure that it has been completed in level 2. Level 2 has been completed in pathways, but it also needs to go through to Club Central. But the proof is, if it's already in pathways, that's enough proof from Toastmasters International. But for everyone to see it, it needs to go through to Club Central. So please try and do it in both places. until this system is finally just becoming one system. So the area directors can see every level of all the paths within their area, and they can see next to the person's name whether they're visionary communication level 2 or above. But if you want to do a quick check, you can check under the educational awards and you can see who's completed some awards within the last year, and that's very useful as well. So are you eligible to judge at the international contest, international level? You must have been a level 2 to judge. So please keep that in mind when you are looking at your eligibility when you're signing the judge's ballot as well. Because as Tracy mentioned, we go area, division, winners of the district go through to the international go through and proceed to region quarterfinal. Region quarterfinal goes to semi, and then you have that chance to be in the World Championship of Public Speaking. So if you do judge at club level, try and then offer yourself to judge at area and then offer to help at division, because we need people that have had that experience of going forward and understanding and being capable and feeling comfortable in those roles at the higher levels, because it moves very quickly and we want capable, confident people. And you have that opportunity if you start at club level and offer that opportunity with not only your clubs within the club, but share your club members out to others as well. Tracy.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Sure.
So when it comes to eligibility for judges, this becomes quite contentious. If you're in a contest competing, can you judge in that same contest outside of your club if you win? Or even if you're competing? Are there any restrictions?
There are restrictions. It's in the rule book. There are restrictions that you can't judge. Like say you win the international, once you win that, when you're going through to the next level, you can't offer your services to help with judging in any international contest.
But if I only went into international, I could help with an evaluation or a table topics.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's
awesome.
Only where it's that conflict of interest that it becomes an issue.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. So same with the judges, they need to have this information in advance so that they can read and see if they are eligible to go forward. So as soon as possible after the contest, what is the utmost responsibility of the chief judge? Can anyone share those thoughts?
To let the next level know who the winners were.
Perfect. That is exactly what you need to do. So please grab this form. Every contest has a complete kit that goes with it. So we need all placings, because suddenly first, second, third, fourth and fifth can't compete, but we need to know who came sixth, seventh and eighth. And we only know from the announcement that of first, second and third publicly, but we need to know all of the competitors, because suddenly someone might be called upon and they might be sixth place or seventh place and they need to go forward. When you fill in the form, you must do the club name number, and you must keep that same number throughout all your competing. Jules.
Yes, thanks. My camera's gone a little awry. I have a question. I'm very used to now competitions online. Now that we're moving back into in-person, when, as a chief judge, we ask our judges to complete their ballot papers as if they have no idea if someone has been disqualified for timing or not. So we ask for first, second and third. But no, I'm sorry. And then once we go into the judging room, with the judges so that they can complete the first, second and third. We tell them immediately on it of a timing disqualification. Is that correct?
So the judges do their ballot as if they're judging normally, and then the judges' ballots get handed to the tally counters, and the tally counters are judging on who is or isn't put forward. But when the tally counters are with the chief judge, the chief judge will have the time, and the chief judge will say, no, this person is disqualified. It's nothing to do with the judges who are judging at the time. The disqualification becomes the tally counters and the chief judge.
I asked then, the judges have completed only the first, second and third. If the second and third have been disqualified, how then do we come up with the other places? It can't surely be on the tiebreaker, surely.
It is on the tiebreaker.
Comes to the tiebreaker, yeah. So I'll just quickly move forward, David. So sorry, I'll keep going. So just please fill out the whole piece of paper and share it through to the next level. Club to area, area to division, to division, division to division goes to district contest coordinator, which is me this year, and the District 73 program quality director. All right, eligibility. There are new rules this year. The candidate for district positions elected by the district council for the term beginning the upcoming July the 1st need to be very careful, because if you are going for a district position, you cannot be a competitor. So this applies to division directors, district leadership team, but that is if you show intent, like you're actually going to step up into those roles. So you don't have to say that you intend to go for these roles until the district leadership team committee chair starts to make the call for the district. So you can stay and compete until you decide that you want to be a competitor, and then you need to pull out of competing. So you might almost get to district level, but decide you want to be the district director. You cannot continue competing. So you won't be competing if you put your paperwork through. Changes are in this resource. So what goes forward and what will be returned? You are the person that can make sure you will go forward and you won't. Sign and read the form as a competitor, sign and read the form as a judge, and make sure you feed the information through to the next level, because we will have to contact Toastmasters International to see if you can go forward, which we have done at district level, because sometimes your pathways information is not showing level 2. So we want it all to show level 2 if you are going through to international. So contest resources people, your program quality director, your I can help out, and the other training co-chairs, education and training co-chairs. So speak up early. We're all here to help, and please use the Toastmasters International resources that are all there for you. Resources here. Make sure also if you can put a reconciled agenda with the notification of contest winner and placings and all placings, that is also a huge benefit for all of us. And of course, our district director as an additional resource. So please revisit all the resources from today, and thank you for listening, because you are the key person that will make yourself go forward or be held back. Thank you.
We have the key person's email address, district officer's email address.
Yes, on the District 73 website, all of the email addresses are listed, and that's in the resource that I've shared with Janine and Graeme, and they will have that in there. So on the D73 website, we'll have all of the club officers, all of the district leadership team, and you can get all the contact details there.
And also have your PowerPoint screen. Sorry, I mean.
Yes, I've
that-
shared that.
Yeah, share that. Yeah.
All in the resources as well.
Thank you very much, Sue, for that informative presentation that helped us know what we need to do to ensure eligibility and to communicate after a contest has been held, especially if we're in the chief judge role. We're now going to have a very practically focused session on organising contests, club and beyond, and it will be led by the co-chair of the D73 Education and Training Committee, Graeme Dunlop. Now, Graeme should be familiar to many of you. He had an incredible haul at the district conference this year, and he was the winner of the Toastmaster of the Year, the District Officer of the Year, and won an award for outstanding service and dedication. So Graeme is a wonderful resource for us here in D73, and we're now going to hear from him with his tips on organising contests, club and beyond. Welcome, Graeme.
Thank you very much, Janine. And let's go. Contests. How do you organise a contest? How many people here have not organised a contest before?
Yes, I haven't organised a contest before.
Many. Excellent. So how many are a little bit worried about organising a contest? Well, you've come to the right session, because we're going to learn all about how to organise a contest. Sorry, I distracted myself there for a moment. So, organising contests, or how not to go mad when you say, sure, I'll organise that. Because you know what it's like in the heat of the moment. It's like, yeah, great, I can organise the contest. And then you come to it and you think, oh my, what have I done? Never mind. So you're organising the contest. I commend you. It's a very good thing to do. It's a great learning experience because there's a lot to be done. And a well-run contest is a beautiful thing, one that just moves from one phase to another seamlessly. And all of the contestants are briefed and everybody's ready. It's wonderful. But you're organising the contest. That's great. The first thing to do is don't panic. It's fine. You will be able to get through this. How do I know? Because I have been in your shoes. I remember probably a second year I was with my current club, I was VPE, and it was my responsibility my accountability to organise our contests. And when I looked at what was done, this is probably what my face looked like. So I remember that very well. But I have good news for you. It's easy. Of course, everyone always says that, don't they? It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is 3 things. Know what you need to do. Know where to find what you need. And then do it. What could be simpler? So let's take a look at each of these steps. Know what you need to do. So for a contest, there are a couple of things that you need to do. Look at setting the contest date. And this isn't just about club contests, it's about area and district division, as well. So setting the contest date, that's a pretty important thing to do. In general, club contests happen around July, August, September. The only real specification is that they have to happen before the area contest. So if you want to know when your area contest is, contact your area director. Now, I've been caught out by this before. Remember to plan around public holidays. I don't have kids myself, so I never think about school holidays. And I've been caught out before with that. with organising contests right in the middle of school holidays. So lots of people, or some people couldn't some people couldn't attend, they couldn't make it. So do put that into your thinking. Public holidays as well, if it's like, I don't know, AFL Grand Final, probably it's not going to affect your club contest, but do keep in mind all the public holidays that have. And remember, the VP is accountable for the contests, but does not have to do everything. Very important to remember. For the area contests usually happen in October or November, but those dates are not set in stone. I guess the only specification for those is that they have to happen before the division contests. Division contests are different. I think they generally happen in February and March, and the dates of those are set by the district, and they are the same dates every year. They happen during February and March. When you say the same dates, I'm not saying the 15th of February. I'm saying something like the second Saturday in March. I do have the dates for those. Kevin kindly supplied me with them. I can show them to you later if we have time. So set the contest date. Advertise your contest. If you're in the club, mention it as much as you can in the club meetings so that people know, hey, there's a contest coming up and I would like to be a contestant, or I would like to fill the roles. Now, I've got two things there. Ask for contestants and people to fill the roles. Of course, ask, but target contestants and people to fill the roles. Some people will be happy to come forward and volunteer. Other people need perhaps a bit of a push, or not so much a push as an encouragement. Something like, hey, I think you'd be great for the role of contest chair, and this would be a really good learning opportunity for you. And it's pretty similar with the area and division contests. Mention the contest as much as you can during the area and division councils. Your areas and divisions do have councils, right? Good. And again, ask for and target people to fill the roles. Now, with the area and division contests, you can also add the date to the D73 calendar. To be honest, I'm happy for you to add the dates to for the club contests, but it's probably not so big of a deal. But for the area and division contests, please do add the date to the D73 calendar. To do that, you go to the D73 website, upcoming events and event calendar, scroll to the end of the page and click Create Update Calendar Event. The reason I'm giving you all these steps rather than just giving you the link is if you do this once, you'll probably remember next time how to do it again. Know what you need to do. Confirm the contest format. We've been talking about this tonight, whether it's going to be online only, in-person only, or hybrid. And what we heard earlier on was that we don't yet know whether we have to have hybrid contests. I would recommend, this is my personal recommendation, that your club contests move to in-person if you can. If you're an online club, that's obviously going to be different. But if you're not an online club, do try to go to the in-person format because it's a different experience. We're Toastmasters, we're learning to do public speaking, which means speaking to people, and you get the best results when you're speaking with them in the same room. So, Kevin, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say, add there about what the contest formats are going to be this year?
No, and unfortunately, we haven't had the directive from Toastmasters International yet. We're expecting it in the next couple of weeks. As it stands, every contest is in person.
Okay.
And until we have a policy or a directive from World Headquarters and Toastmasters International, we have to run with that.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the next thing you need to do, of course, is start planning. Now, okay, great. You know what you need to do. What about where to find what you need to do? We've had some links posted in the chat already tonight about various resources that you can use. The best resource is to go to the Toastmasters International website. I'm going to try this. The Toastmasters International website goes to this page here, the speech contests. There's quite a lot of information here for the speech contests. There's a link to the most recent, hopefully, contest rulebook. There's an FAQ about speech contests. Online and hybrid contests, you've got best practices there. You've got the speech contest tutorials, which is a selection of videos that tell you about how to do a speech contest. And further down, we've got speech contest resources. Each of these, if you click on these, they take you to a resource kit for each contest. So everything you need, all the forms, all the explanations about it, and so on. And then even down here, additional resources, the contest materials again. Very important here, the speech contest rulebook changes. What has changed since last year? And speech certificates and how to conduct quality speech contests. Resources, there are many. Please make use of them. Be aware of them and please make use of them. Did you know that we have on the D73 website a whole page on how to run a club speech contest? It looks like this. Oh, familiar face, or used to be a familiar face. Where's he gone? There's a whole bunch of things here that will help you. The organizer, it's generally the VPE and so on. There's district contest resources. We'll come back to that. Set a date. Hey, I think we've heard that before already. Judges, there's all sorts of information here about test speakers, roles to fill, trophies, and just about everything you would need to know, really. What's good about the contest resources thing, if I click on this, is it will show you a collection of information that we have. So one really big thing here, contest chair scripts for online and in person. So if you're a contest chair, you don't have to worry about what to say because we've got a template of what you need to say. Contest information gives you all sorts of information like a contest agenda, FAQs, we've got a checklist, we've got a project plan. There's all sorts of things there that will help you to plan a good contest. And you've even got Zoom contest backgrounds and so on. So do go to the D73 website. And as far as ordering badges and trophies go, that would be mainly for the area and division contests. There is a form on the D73 website that will let you order your trophies. So that's how to know where to find some of what you need. The District 73 contest resources, I've just shown you that as well. A checklist. It's a really good idea to have a checklist to go through all the things that you need to do. It can be pretty simple. I've put one together, if I can find where it is. Here it is, which is just a simple Excel spreadsheet. You can see down the bottom here, we've got one tab for each of the contests. And it's pretty much just make sure that you've got a name beside each of these roles, and then some contact information, whether that's confirmed or not, and comments, any comments you might have, and then a few other bits of relevant information, the contest date and time, the venue, catering, because often, even for a club contest, you will have some kind of catering. It's usually we try and make it some kind of, a bit of a fun thing, bit of a celebration. Advertising, who's going to print off the forms? What kind of budget? Do we have a photographer? All sorts of things like that. So humorous, pretty similar. Table topics, one thing that you have to have is table topics questions. That's the responsibility of the contest chair, and recommend that you have 2 table topics questions, just in case something goes wrong during the contest and you have to restart. I have had that happen. I've been responsible for that happening one time. That was my bad. And for the evaluation, of course, you need to have a test speaker as well. So this spreadsheet, for what it's worth, is in the resources folder that we're going to tell you about later on, and each of the presentations will be in the resources folder as well. Now, for the agendas, we saw that in the District 73 contest resources, there is an agenda. I just want to show you something that I've knocked up for myself because I found it helpful. When I'm putting together an agenda, I don't always know what times to put, and it's sometimes can be difficult to know how much time you allocate. So I came up with a spreadsheet to help me figure that out, and it's here. So for each of the contests, evaluation, humorous, table topics, and so on, if you just put in the number of speakers that you have, let's say it's the table topics and you've got, gosh, I don't know, 7 speakers, because that tends to be pretty popular. If you put 7 speakers in, that will tell you then how long it takes for each segment, as long as you put in what time things are supposed to start. And then that can then help you in putting the times together for the agenda. The number of speakers, the time per speaker, there's a bit of a blurb here about how I've calculated the time per speaker. It's a bit of a finger in the air kind of guess thing, but this helps me figure out how long everything should take. So briefings about 15 minutes, and of course you can change these if you feel they're not right. It's really just a tool to help you find the timings for your agenda. And the contest chair scripts, let's go back to the District 73 contest resources. If we look at the contest chair scripts, we have a bit of a comprehensive one here that's sort of in progress, but let's look at the in-person contests. We have a script, a contest chair script for each of the contests that you will have. And each of them talks about what you need to say and what happens. So it talks about what happens before the contestant briefing, what happens during the contestant briefing, what happens when the contest starts, and there's all sorts of prompts here. Welcome to the, whatever it is, club, area, division, district. The next per completed, blah, 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 blah. I am blank, insert your name, and I shall be your contest chair for this. So there's a whole script of what you can say. So you're very supported if you're the contest chair. Don't feel that you have to make it all up yourself. There is a format that we usually run to. So plenty of contest chair scripts. And if you don't find what you need, do remember that Google is your friend. I mean, not so much Google the company, maybe they aren't your friend, but the Google search engine is your friend. And if that's not your search engine of choice, then Bing is your friend, or Yahoo is your friend. Believe me, there is plenty of information out there. Know where to find what you need. A big thing here is judges. How do you find judges? That was the most terrifying thing for me. And it can depend on, it can depend a little bit on the people that you get. Sometimes chief judges will help you recruit judges. Sometimes not. It depends a bit on your chief judge. Personally, I like to try and help with that because the chief judge has a lot to do. But basically, it's about hitting up your contacts and hitting your network. It's also about asking other experienced Toastmasters in your club or area division to help. There's something I've left off here, which is in your area councils or in your division councils, do some kind of a swap thing. For your clubs, go to your area council and say, hey guys, look, we know the contest is coming up. We're willing to judge for you guys if you'll do a reciprocal arrangement for us. And you should be in contact, hopefully, with the clubs in your area so that you can get some kind of reciprocal arrangement going on. There's also the D73 Melbourne Contest Judges group on Facebook. I'll be honest and say I've had variable results with that. It depends on who's there and what they know. But remember, in this case, just like Google's your friend, other clubs and areas are your friends. You don't have to do it all yourself. There are other clubs out there. There are other areas out there. There are plenty of Toastmasters out there. It's just about building up a contact and working your network and getting other people to help you by working their networks as well, whether that's experienced Toastmasters or the area councils and the district councils. Great. So we know what we need to do. We know where to find what you need. Now you just need to do it. Now, please, for the love of everything that is holy, delegate. If you are a VPE or an area director or a district director, you do not have to do it all yourself. Please remember that you have help. But just a quick aside here, the VP or area director or division director is accountable for the contest, but not responsible for completing all the tasks. You may have heard of a RACI matrix, which is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. It's a way of setting out who does what for a particular project or area or procedure or whatever it is. The people who are responsible are the people who are actually doing the work. They're effectively your delegates, the people that you delegate the work to. The VP or the area director or division director is accountable, and there is usually ideally one person accountable, but one or more people responsible. So if you are organizing the contest, you do not have to do everything yourself. And then when you do it, this is a particular plea from me. If you are taking the contest chair role, and more power to you if you are, do it. It's a great experience, but if you're doing it, please practice. There are scripts. I've shown you that there are scripts. At least read through the script once so that you know what's going to be happening. So what do we do for contests? It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Know what you need to do. Know where to find what you need. And then do it. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Questions. I can see there are a few questions there. David, I think, is first. Or was it Michael? I can't tell.
Yes, Graeme, Russell speaking. So what's that Facebook site you've been talking about again, where you can find people to help you with contests?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You showed up on the screen a Facebook site where you can find people to help you with contests.
Yes.
Is it in the resources, or will we put it in the chat?
It's in the resources, yes, definitely, yes.
So looking Toastmaster resources like District 73?
Yes, yeah. There's a folder that will have the content, all of the presentations from tonight, including this one, which has a bunch of links in it. So a couple of people have raised their hands. Was Michael or David first? I can't tell.
Happy to go right now. 2 questions. One is, are we competing? Can people compete in 2 different areas? I know they can't compete, say, international 2 areas, but could they, if they win the international at the club in one club, but compete in the evaluation at a different area or a different club?
I'm not sure about that. I think that's possible. Yes.
I believe you can at club, but you can't beyond club. Once you've won beyond club, you have to pick which club you're going to represent.
Okay.
But could you compete though, say, for one club, and if
your audio is breaking up, but can I second guess whether or not that's competing in different contests in different clubs?
in a different club or different area?
Yes.
Or is it just you could only choose one area and that's it, and you can't compete at the next level? That was
only per contest.
And the second question, I guess that's something to think about, is on nominations. I know with our club that we're struggling.
Really having a problem with your audio there, Michael. You're cutting out.
I'm going to second guess Michael and say nominations, you can nominate at club level people to go forth as your club champions, but that's only at club level. And once you go to area, there must be a contest.
Okay, great. We'll need to keep moving. So, David, you've got a question or a comment?
You're on mute, David.
Can't hear you.
No sound from David. He's not on mute. He's just got no sound.
Okay,
So,
I'll quickly move on to Susanna.
Hi, Graeme.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. I just Googled, sorry, I just searched on Facebook, but I couldn't find the contest judge Facebook, that group.
Yep, that's okay. There is a link for that in the resources that I'm going to be posting soon. So in my presentation, there's a link to that, and you'll get a copy of the presentation.
And how do I get your presentation?
I'm going to post a link that will let you get all of the stuff from tonight in the chat.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you.
There is a price though. You have to fill in an evaluation form.
Right. Thank you, Kevin.
That's true. Okay, David, all good. Ron, question?
Hi, Graeme. Just as a question about judging, I mean, I see a few comments there about in the chat, whatever, but contests must be online, must be in person. I understand that. Can judges be online?
I will let somebody better qualified.
Not at this point in time, no.
So even for my club contests that are afar?
Your club contest, not a problem.
Oh, for club, yeah, for club contests, I'm just talking club.
Yeah, sorry, no, absolutely. Club contests, anything goes.
Okay, done. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I've just posted in the chat the resources for tonight's presentations, including the one that's coming up, hopefully. But I will hand back to the Toastmaster at this point. Thank you, Janine.
Thank you so much, Graeme, for a wonderfully informative, helpful, practical session on running contests, club and beyond. We have one more session for tonight, and it will be run by David Martin, and it's focusing on judging. Now, David has been a member of Toastmasters since 2014 and is a proud member of 3 clubs. In his first year, he competed in his first contest, Table Topics, and made it as far as area. The following year, he competed in all 4 contests at his club, but doesn't recall his results except to say he had fun. Under Toastmasters eligibility rules that prevent certain district leaders from being able to enter contests, there have been years when he's been behind the scenes rather than on the stage. When he is eligible, he goes in every contest at his 3 clubs, meaning 12 contests each year, and has made it as far as division level. He says, well, I thought it was humorous. Behind the scenes, he's judged, chief judged, ushered, counted, and twirled the lights of many, many contests. Along the way, he's enjoyed seeing many wonderful speakers have the thrill of being there and fulfilling part of their Toastmasters ambitions. Please join me in welcoming our current Program Quality Director, David Martin.
Well, thanks, Janine. And I'm not certain how I'm going with audio now. So somebody will either say, we can hear, which is great. Thanks, Janine. So before I start, I was just going to say before that I think VPEs shouldn't be involved in running contests. nor do I think president should be. You know, we have club officer training and we talk about immediate past presidents. What do they do? I reckon IPPs have got a role in the club, and that's organising their experience and their contacts to get judges and put contests together. So that's all I'm going to say on that topic. Now, you'd be distressed to know that, or pleased to know that my PowerPoint stopped working. So that's the good news. The bad news is I ended up pulling up my checklists. So even though this might look like a PowerPoint, it's basically dot points for parts of judging. Now, a lot of people here have judged and a lot haven't judged. So I'm looking at the list of names and saying, well, there's some heavy hitters there, and the points that I make, somebody may pop in and say, well, that's not quite true, but I'll put in what I think is going to work. So we'll go there and share that. And to there. Judging for contests. Now, I'm not going to read every single bullet point, I'll spare you, but has anybody tonight mentioned that we work from this year's contest rulebook? I've heard it mentioned a few times.
Yes.
And the good thing about these is that the Toastmaster rules are almost unambiguous, but sometimes they need a little bit of clarification. I recommend every single person, every single year goes through and just does a little bit of a tutorial or refresher on these things. So there's the brief overview. There's a tutorial on how to judge the things that you may be swayed by that could give a bad outcome or an incorrect outcome, and how to use the judge's guide and ballot. And the link for that, as many people have pointed out, is in the resources. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, but I do want to point out a couple of important things, one of which Sue has already covered, but I'm just going to talk about the role of the Chief Judge. So the first point is the Chief Judge isn't a voting judge. And I've heard over the years people say, oh, I was busy doing the paperwork and scoring, and I've thought, no. Specifically, the Chief Judge doesn't vote. So there's a long list of things there that it looks as though the Chief Judge is required to do. But in fact, it is quite a straightforward job if somebody has supplied you with a folder with the correct documents. And many's the time I've gone to a club and somebody's given me a folder and I've gone through and said, well, wait, the timing sheets aren't in here, or whatever it might be. So the Chief Judge needs to work with the contest organizer at the club or wherever it may be. I can share a lot of these things later through Graeme, I guess, but this just goes through and talks about what the Chief Judge does. And at the end, as Sue has pointed out, you need to do the result sheet. But I also, this is my technique at a club level, I also give that result sheet to the president or VPE. And I also keep a photo of it because so often the area director will ring up and say, oh, I need clarification on who came, third or whatever. So I always keep a copy of the result sheet that I've sent to the area director or the next level up. Okay, voting judges. Voting judges are very specifically referred to in the book and in the guidelines, and the responsibility, they need to check the contest rulebook each year because it does change. We've gone through and spoken about the book and the RFQs for it. Not RFQs, FAQs. You can tell where my background comes from. And also making sure that the judge is eligible to act in that role. I think Sue touched on that. Goes through and talks about, you know, working out who came first, second, and third. Make sure that the ballot slip is signed. If they hand in an unsigned ballot slip, unfortunately, the chief judge needs to reject that. And also the voting judges can make a protest on a speech. So I'll cover that in a minute. Now, the tiebreaker judge is a special judge, and as has been pointed out, judges every single contestant. Good luck to tiebreaker judges in contests where I've been one of 12 or 13 contestants. So the tiebreaker judge needs to keep track of all that. Now, the tiebreaker judge is meant to be anonymous, but for the sake of time, I always invite the tiebreaker judge to be part of the chief judge's briefing, but that person is just one of the 6 people that are standing around. I've already worked with the person that I've chosen to be the tiebreaker judge, and I say, here is the ballot that you'll be working from, and make sure they understand to have the all the places on it. The rest of the judges don't need to know that that person is the tiebreaker. And then, of course, the tiebreaker judge has the same obligations of making sure they're up to date. Now, the protests, I don't want to go through too much of it, but there is a process. Let's see which bullet point I can come down to. Essentially, if there is a protest, the chief judge needs to steer it towards, will there be a discussion? Do I need to call the voting judges in so that we can listen to the person who made the protest, decide if we're going to go forward, call in the contestant against who the protest has been made so that they can explain that the protest isn't warranted. But if the chief judge and the voting judges decide that there is a valid protest, then they can vote on it, discuss it. The chief judge and the tiebreaker judge can't make a protest and they can't vote on that. I always call in the tiebreaker judge because often they're more experienced. They do have an opinion, and also calling the tiebreaker judge into the room means that the audience know that that person is a judge, but don't know that they're the tiebreaker. So pulling them into the room actually helps maintain anonymity for that. And finally, when the vote is taken on whether the protest is valid or invalid, It's done by the voting judges, so it's a simple majority of the votes, 3 or more. And that is pretty well it. So the extra tips that I've got for contests, make sure that the contest chair has signed the place certificates before the chief judge takes hold of them again. Because after the presentation of certificates, the winners tend to go off in different directions, and the contest chair may not have had an opportunity to sign it. Try and make sure that the chief judge or one of the counters has attractive handwriting, because in my case, for example, my handwriting is so bad that the poor winner and place getters are going to look at it and think, who on earth wrote that? So I always try and make sure somebody has decent handwriting, and also there's a proper marker pen like a Sharpie that's available for it. I think that's pretty well it from my point of view, but there are, as I say, a lot of other experienced people here that have been chief judges, so I invite them to join in, or if I can answer questions. And maybe not.
Well, I have one question.
Sure.
After you've actually done the judging, what do you do with the with the actual results? Of course, if you're a voting judge.
Okay, so in the pack of material that you'll have either printed out and taken to the contest yourself as the chief judge, or that you've been given by the contest organizer, there'll be timing sheets, tally sheets, result sheets, place certificates. So the result sheets are the ones that you end up writing down the entire list of winners down to 8th place or 12th place, whatever it may be. So you keep that and end up getting it to the area director, for example, by handing it to them if you see them, or scanning it and emailing it to them, or photographing it. I missed what Sue said earlier about getting the information up. Is there a spreadsheet that can be sent to? I just missed what Sue was saying about that.
It's in my resources, so Graeme has it. Yep.
No, I was actually talking about the voting judges themselves. After they've judged the contestant, the actual results. Now, what's meant to happen with them?
So those results, the ballot strip that is on the bottom of the ballot sheet gets torn off and collected by counters or ushers. So when you've finished, you hold it up, somebody comes and takes it off you. And that's given to the chief judge, who adjourns to a counting room with the counters. When that's all finished, the chief judge physically hangs on to those and disposes of them later on. And the voting judges are meant to fold up the sheet, put it in their pocket and throw it in the rubbish bin when they get home, or as a very wise person in the list here once told me, you eat it. So as long as it's disposed of. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Right, right. It's kind of a process of diminishing paperwork. Anybody else?
Yes, I have a question. How do you get to be a chief judge? Do you just step up and say, hey, I'm going to be chief judge for this, or are you anointed by a chief judge, or how does that happen?
I think in my particular case, the first time I'd been judging for a couple of years, and one person I judged with a few times then approached me from his club and said, would I like to be a chief judge? And I thought about it and discussed it with somebody who I'd been a judge under, who explained that it can be done with a little bit of help. I was very fortunate when I did that an experienced DTM approached me on the evening and said, would you like me to tail you just to make sure that you're doing everything properly? And he did, and I was very grateful for it. He wasn't a voting judge. He was just somebody that was sort of a mentor for me, and just gave me that confidence. So it's not a hard job, but there is a lot to tick off.
Okay, thank you.
Sue.
I was going to suggest that if you're keen to be a chief judge, be a tally counter, because the tally counters follow through with the chief judge the whole way through the briefings and the whole way through the process, and they're just by their side and they know exactly what's going on. So it would be really valuable to just volunteer to be a tally counter, and then you can swap roles. So be a tally counter for one club and then be a chief judge for another, because you're kind of working as a team, so it's good.
I would also suggest you do timing as well. That's another.
Well, you should be putting your hand up for as much as you possibly can. Timekeeping is a real art form, and people have asked me, why on earth do you have two timekeepers? In a contest, you can become so enchanted with the speech that you don't realize the lights have gone green or yellow or red. So just having two timekeepers, it's also an opportunity for one to give the other a nudge in the ribs if they think they're not about to turn the knob. There was one other bit of wisdom that I was going to share. I can't recall now, but it's a great job. It's very enjoyable to be able to sit back, listen to the speeches without having to make decisions about the actual score. But you should be listening in case there is a protest, because when you get the protest, you can initially look at it and think, yes, I also thought that. I've been a chief judge where I thought there should have been a protest. It was on somebody who sang about 3/4 of his speech, gave no attribution. It was way beyond the 25% content limit. And I was certain there would be a protest. There wasn't. But if there had been, as chief judge, I would have been more than happy to say, I agree, let's call the voting judges in.
And we're out of time, David. So I'd like to thank you for that very helpful presentation on judging. There were many people on the call tonight, some who were anxious about running club contests, and I'm sure they would have got a lot of value from all of the presentations tonight. So thank you to all our presenters, to Tracy, Sue, Graeme, and David, as well as Kevin, who answered questions earlier about contests. Before we go, I would like to announce the winner of the inaugural Education Enthusiasts Award. This is for clubs which had more than one member here in the session tonight, And I noticed 6 honourable mentions, and they go to Q Toastmasters, Hawthorne, Yarra Valley, Adelaide, CPA, and Fitzroy. But the winner that I've picked out from the list of participants with 3 members here is Elstonwick Toastmasters. So let me have a look at my list. Adam, Peter, and Vincent, please stay when others leave at the end of this meeting, and we will take a photo in a breakout room and include that in our newsletter review of this session. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. And now I'm going to hand over to Graeme, who's just going to tell you again that the resources are in the chat and ask you to fill in the survey. Thank you.
That's right. Thanks, Janine. I've posted several times in the chat that there are resources available for you with the link. And there's also a feedback form. We'd be very grateful if you would fill that out for us, please. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm really pleased with how many people turned up. This is an excellent way to start the new year. So thank you for coming. We really hope that you found this useful. And this has been recorded, so it will be up on the YouTube channel at some time in the future when I get around to it. So thanks for coming. That's the formal end. Feel free to stay around if you've got more questions. Otherwise, thank you and have a good night. And the people from Elstonwick, please stay around.
And congratulations also to Ballarat for having 2 members here.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Oh, Lilita, if you didn't put your club membership name on didn't rename yourself, I didn't know.